Hey everyone, welcome in. Today we're doing something a little different. We're diving deep into a single blog post called On Surviving, Why I'm Still Here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's this really personal story, one man's experience with sudden illness, the ups and downs of treatment and recovery, and how, honestly, it totally changed how he sees life.
I like it already. So walk me through it. What's this deep dive all about?
Well, it starts with these super common symptoms, the kind many of us might just shrug off, feeling out of breath, lightheaded, just completely drained. The author, he was working crazy hours, had a terrible commute, basically living off takeout.
Oh, I know that feeling. Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the blog post even mentions he wasn't eating right, constantly stressed from work, that long commute adding to it all. Classic signs of burnout, right?
Yeah, textbook. But instead of slowing down, taking a breather, he just pushed harder, put his own well-being on hold. It's a story we hear way too often, unfortunately.
It's like that whole hustle mentality we've all bought into. But he talks about this one day, walking to get lunch, and he almost passes out right there on the sidewalk.
Oh, wow.
And then later, just climbing a few subway stairs, he's totally winded. I mean, those are major red flags that something's up. You'd think that would be a wake-up call, right?
You'd think so, but honestly, our bodies are complicated. They don't just quit on us. They send these little warnings, like what the author experienced.
Right.
And we have to learn to read those signs, even when they seem small, and give ourselves permission to slow down. Easier said than done, though, I know.
You're telling me. And the craziest part is, instead of going to see a doctor, he decides what he really needs is a Disney World vacation. Figured, time off, problem solved. Problem is, he's on his feet all day eating theme park food, the opposite of what his body actually needed.
It's funny, isn't it? We try to outrun our body's signals, thinking a vacation can erase months of built-up stress, but oftentimes it just makes things worse.
It totally backfired in his case, because that's when this awful ear pain starts. Finally, he caves and goes to the doctor. Thank goodness for a persistent wife, as he mentions. And it's like he's holding his breath, right? Hoping for a simple answer. But the doctor takes one look at him, sees how pale he is, and checks his oxygen levels immediately.
Oh, no.
And they're really low, which totally throws the doctor off.
Yeah.
He even jokes in the post that the doctor was more surprised than he was, like he should have been passing out left and right.
It's amazing how resilient our bodies are, you know? They can compensate for so long, even when things are going wrong internally.
It's wild. But at low oxygen levels, that's serious stuff.
Absolutely. It means your cells aren't getting what they need to function properly.
So naturally, what happens next? He's rushed to the ER,
Of course.
probably thinking, quick trip, in and out, home for dinner.
Yeah, right.
Not even close. He's hit with test after test, specialists coming and going, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
They did figure out he was severely anemic, which basically means his iron levels were way too low. So they gave him a blood transfusion right away.
That makes sense. That would explain a lot of his symptoms, the fatigue, the breathlessness, even the paleness he described.
It's crazy how something like iron, something we need just to function, can cause such a domino effect.
Yeah, our blood needs iron to carry oxygen throughout the body. So when your iron's low, everything's impacted.
But even with the transfusion, they were still in the dark about the root cause. He talks about this whole battery of tests they ran, and eventually they schedule him for an endoscopy and a colonoscopy.
Oh, boy.
And anyone who's ever had those done, well, let's just say he doesn't sugarcoat the, shall we say, preparation involved.
Yeah, that's one of those things people don't usually talk about, the glamorous side of medical procedures.
Yeah.
But it's important. Both an endoscopy, where they examine your upper digestive tract, and a colonoscopy, which looks at your large intestine. You need a completely clean slate for them to see anything.
Exactly. So he goes through all that, the whole unpleasant process, and the endoscopy doesn't really give them a clear answer.
Oh, no.
They found a little information, maybe some irritation, but nothing that screamed, this is the problem. Talk about frustrating, right?
Absolutely. All that, and they're no closer to an answer. It's that waiting, that uncertainty that really gets to you in those situations.
And it gets worse because they finally do the colonoscopy hoping for some answers, and that's when they find it. The plot twist of all plot twists.
What was it?
It wasn't some small, easily treatable thing. It was an 11-inch tumor in his stomach.
11 inches.
11 inches!
Oh, my God. Stage 2 cancer.
I can't even imagine what must have been going through his mind at that point. Just, wow.
I can only imagine just that feeling,
Yeah.
Your whole world shifting.
It's that moment when everything changes. And I think it's so important to remember, even with a great medical team, That initial shock, the fear, it can be incredibly isolating.
He talks about that in the blog, this wave of almost like disbelief, like this
Yeah,
can't be real.
right.
But then it's like a switch flips and this fierce determination to fight kicks in.
And that's where having a strong support system, people in your corner, is crucial.
For sure.
It's not even just the practical help, though that's huge. It's about having people who can handle the emotional weight with you, who remind you to breathe, who can just be there in those tough moments, you know?
He really had that, it sounds like. He talks about his wife, Mary, just with so much love, saying she basically became his rock.
Oh.
She held things down at home, they had a young daughter, and she was advocating for him at the hospital, being that steady source of support.
It makes a world of difference.
Reading that, I couldn't help but think, everyone deserves a Mary in their life, you know?
Absolutely. And it wasn't just Mary. He talks about this incredible outpouring of support.
Yeah.
Friends, family, people from work, even just acquaintances bringing meals, sending flowers, flooding his inbox with well wishes.
It's a good reminder that even when we feel alone, there are people who care, always. And, you know, it's not just a feel-good thing. There's actually research showing this social support, feeling connected to others, it directly impacts how we deal with stress, illness, trauma, all of it.
Wow, I didn't realize there was science behind it. That's amazing. So he's got this incredible support system, but he's still got a battle ahead, major surgery, a long recovery, and he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. The surgery itself, weeks of painful recovery, chemo. He went through it physically and emotionally. But then, this is where it gets really interesting.
What's that?
It's like this experience facing his own mortality, it fundamentally changed something in him.
That's what we call post-traumatic growth.
Mm.
It doesn't take away the pain, but it recognizes that difficult experiences, they can change us, often in positive ways.
That's it. Exactly. He talks about going back to work, and it's not that the work was different, but his whole perspective had shifted.
Yes.
He says he stopped sweating the small stuff. He realized life's too short, too unpredictable to waste energy on things that don't matter in the grand scheme. Family, his own well-being, enjoying those simple moments, those became his priorities.
That's huge.
And then, as if that wasn't a big enough transformation, he gets this out-of-the-blue message from the New York Times.
No way. What did they want?
They wanted him to head their real estate section.
Wow. Talk about a dream opportunity.
Right. But here's the thing. He's torn. He feels loyal to his company. They'd been so supportive while he was sick.
Of course.
But his boss, and this says a lot, his boss actually encourages him to go for it, tells him he deserves it. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is let them go, pursue their dreams.
Now, that's a supportive work environment. And what a lesson in mentorship, you know?
Mm.
Recognizing that sometimes growth means embracing change, even if it's tough to say goodbye.
So true. And so that's how his story ends. He takes the leap, accepts the position at the New York Times. He talks about how this whole ordeal, as scary as it was, it taught him more than he ever imagined, about resilience, gratitude, savoring every moment.
It's a story that makes you think, you know, what would I do? Am I living my life to the fullest? Am I prioritizing what truly matters?
It's a good reminder that life, it's unpredictable and precious, and that even in those dark times, we can find strength, resilience, a sense of purpose we never expected. This deep dive into one man's story, it really resonated with me, and I hope it's given you some food for thought as well. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.
Bye, everyone.